stream go through our website?
That would be intent. Well, and it would either go right through the website, or there would be a link for each meeting that would take you to where the live stream was.
And when is this to start?
The law says that it's effective January 1st of 2020, to the extent practical. So if we're ready, we're ready. If we're not, it's not practical. We'll be ready shortly thereafter. But, certainly that it's the legislature wants it, the governor signed it, something to do.
Thank you, Bob. Our July treasurer's report, Matt Stoddard, our treasurer, please.
Yes. Good chair. Checkbook beginning balance from last report, $215,265. Deposit on 8/9 of $62,356. Times Community Newspaper legal ad of $69.29. Bringing the checking account balance to $277,552. In the Montgomery I.D.A. CD Trust, we have 3 accounts. One has $436, bringing the grand total of $453,755. With the checkbook and the CDs, brings the grand total of $731,307.
Questions? Oh, you have August too. On your next page, I think, Matt?
That's July to August 19th.
Yeah. And then you have one June. Sorry, June 10th.
June.
You want June done? Because that was July to August.
And then you have August.
Yes. You did the August one, let's do
Yes,
the
sir.
July one, which is just under it.
Oh, this is, I'm sorry, my apologies. Checkbook beginning balance from last report, $209,452. A deposit of $8,812 was made on July 15th. There was a check written to the Center of Government Research of $3,000, and leaving the checking account balance of $215,265. The Orange Bank Trust of $215,265 plus the 3 CDs of $54,391, $289,806, and $109,436, bringing the CDs total to $453,634, and the grand total to $668,899
As of the end of July.
as of the end of July.
So I would ask for a motion to accept both of those reports, or should we do them separate?
Do them separate.
Okay, let's start with the June 30th to July 30th financial report. Is there a motion to accept that? By Steve, second by Ed. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. And then the what is the August 31st report, which was reported previous to July. A motion for approval of that financial report.
So moved.
By Ed, second by John. Good with that, John?
Sir.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Moving on to other business. I asked for a discussion on at least some of our important pending projects, mostly to help bring our new board members up to speed with what's going on before the Montgomery I.D.A. And I would like to start with Blue Water Sailfish. We have Steve Butte. I wasn't sure how to say it. I had a picture of it in my mind. Welcome, Steve. And he has a diagram of the project. I don't know if we could set that on one side or the other, just so the audience can see.
Yeah, I apologize that I don't have an easel.
Yeah, no problem. Would it maybe you can,
The lawyer can hold it.
yeah, okay. We're being paid anyway, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for having me tonight. As you may know, the project is a little bit over 1 million square feet. It's a 40-foot clear industrial warehouse. We're 1,060 car spots, 225 trailer spots, 95 loading docks. It'll be fully air conditioned. You can see there's 2 road entrances here. This one will be a right in, right out only off of 17K. This one is a 747, we'll have a traffic signal. The only place that will actually cross any wetlands is right here with this bridge, which will have 2 40-foot wide culverts to allow for a stream or wildlife passage. In all the parking lots, it'll be all downlit, so we have a dark sky effect. The loading here, this loading, wrapping around here will all be secured. That's the only area that'll be fenced off, so wildlife won't be able to get into those 2 areas, but the rest of it will be completely open. We have a prospective tenant for the building for 15 years and financing in place. You may know that recently our FEIS was deemed complete. Site plan approvals are in process. Finding statement is in process, and our other approvals we're pursuing, it should be ready immediately after SECR is complete. Any questions?
How many acres of the parcel will you be utilizing?
We're utilizing about 80 acres of 197 acre parcel.
Other questions, board? Does everybody have a sense of where the location is? Just north of 84 and west of 747 and south of 17K.
So you can see the 84 interchange is just off the diagram here, so the natural flow should be right here at 84.
So the trucks would use the 747 to 84?
That's correct.
What would be,
Go ahead, Matt. Yep.
what would be used from 17K?
Primarily, I would think it would be traffic that's gonna go straight down 17K, or people coming to the building.
Would it be the
From the
trucks?
town of
Would it be
Montgomery.
trucks?
I don't think you'll see much truck traffic, because if you can only have a right in or right out, think about, there's no reason for trucks to be coming from Montgomery.
I have a question. I understand, or heard some information with respect to the DOT that intersection as it exists now is one of the highest accident rates in New York State. And to have additional trucking going through there, 52 footers, that's a concern to me. And with respect to the parking area, how large is the parking area going to be? Roughly 45, 48 acres or so, is that going to be?
Well, this entire area of disturbance is approximately.
Okay, and with respect to snow removal, what are you gonna use? You're gonna use salt, or you're gonna use something else on it?
Yeah, we're gonna use salt. Some people talk about sand, but that'll actually interfere with the retention basins if you shut down sand.
And the salt, remaining salt, where's it gonna go?
It's gonna go to the basins and be filtered out.
Please, as a courtesy, this is not a public hearing.
I'll accept that for now, thank you.
And Bob, can you just review our process? We're waiting for public, or the planning board process.
So right now, Mr. Chair and the board, you received an application, you conducted a public hearing back in February. But although that public hearing was closed, the public comment period remains open. And so I think since then, you maybe received a handful of public comments, but certainly no more than a handful. And until the board has a project to consider, really nothing to comment on or vote on. And I think the board would welcome additional public comments.
So just to confirm, this is an informational session, and the public hearing for voice comment is closed, but we welcome written comment into the I.D.A. office here at Town Hall.
That's right.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
I have one more comment that I
okay.
would like to state. I really feel that it would be to the benefit of this board that either individually or groups, and not for every meeting, but I think we should really start attending the planning board meetings prior to everything coming here. So we get all, once the information, once it comes here, everything is done. It's case closed. It's just looking for a stamp for us to go on with a pilot or what have you. But I really feel that there's a need for, members of the board to attend the planning board meetings on a regular basis to see how these projects are going to affect the town and the residents who we're here to serve. Not necessarily the applicant. We're here to serve the
And I would say a number of us attend some of the planning board meetings and public hearings, and I support that thought, Steve.
Thank you.
I'd like to move on to Medline, and I think R.J. Smith is here to make a short presentation. R.J. Well, I'll cut you off.
Ask for a little indulgence because.
Can you use a microphone? They can't hear you back there.
R.J. Smith on behalf of Medline.
There's a microphone right there.
The microphone is not hooked up.
Well, their microphones are hooked up. You can just switch it on.
That's good.
R.J. Smith on behalf of Medline. I'd like to ask your indulgence for a few minutes because there's been a lot of misinformation and misrepresentation with regard to Medline as an organization. And we'd like to take this opportunity with the I.D.A. board, and we will take the opportunity with other venues to correct that information. Medline is a company that was founded in 1910. It's a medical supply company based in Chicago. Family owned, family operated, family managed. It's not a public company. It does not focus on shareholder value, does not focus on dividends. It focuses on being a successful company. Medline first came to Orange County 13 years ago. In fact, among the consideration was locating in Montgomery on Neelytown Road. Ultimately, timing was critical. They ended up leasing the Wakefern facility in the town of Walk Hill, which they occupied for several years while their new facility was being built. The new facility, which they currently occupy, is a 500,000 square foot distribution center, state-of-the-art distribution center in the town of Wawayanda on Route 6, abutting I-84. When Medline moved into that building, they moved into 300,000 square feet. When companies like this design a building, they design for expansion. They don't design for current needs. So they built 500 but occupied 300. When Medline negotiated for a incentive package at that time, actually it was a time when they moved into Wakefern because they were moving forward with the proposal to build a new facility, they negotiated with the town, the Missing School District, and the Orange County I.D.A. What most companies, unlike most companies, what Medline did, they negotiated and accepted a pilot package, incentive package based upon a 485B. If, for those of you that may not be familiar with a 485B, I'll just pass this around. You take one and pass it down. 485B is a statewide as-of-right program for exemption for any commercial, irregardless of what category, commercial, industrial, space, retail, office, manufacturing, distribution. It's the same as, it's as of right as is agricultural exemption, as is veterans exemption, as is forestry exemption. It's a statewide as of right. Towns have an opportunity to opt out. In Orange County, no towns have opted out. It is a simple 2-page application as opposed to the I.D.A. obviously is much more. This is just the town of Montgomery application. Actually, it's a statewide application if you take one and pass it down. It provides for a 50% exemption on the first year of occupancy, 45 the second, 40 the third, and winds out to the 10th year when you're you're no longer exempt and fully taxed. While most I.D.A. pilots start out at 0, Medline and Way Beyonder started out with 50% and have paid all their, despite what has been said, have paid all their tax bills, have paid millions of dollars to the Minnesota School District, to the town of Way Beyonder, and to Orange County in the course of their occupancy over the last 10 years. They are not vacating the space to seek additional pilot and incentives of vacating the space because they have grown successfully and dramatically. They outgrew that 500,000 square feet. By the nature of their operation, they must maintain a 3-month supply of supplies, equipment, and materials for hospitals serving all of New York, all of New Jersey, half of Pennsylvania, and a backup for Connecticut and Massachusetts. They are the in-time supply line for all the hospitals, nursing homes, healthcare centers throughout that entire corridor. There's no such thing as saying order coming in and say, sorry, we don't have that. It's back ordered. You can't do that when you've got a surgeon who 2 days from now is scheduling brain surgery or heart surgery or something and needs a supply there. That's why Medline leased, in the interim, leased dead warehouse space in New Jersey and warehouse space in Pennsylvania. When Medline looked at alternatives, Pennsylvania was an alternative. They could have consolidated there in the Lehigh Valley with the same logistics benefit. They could consolidate here in Orange County. They looked at New Jersey, that was not that as viable. When Medline decided to locate where they are proposed to locate off of 416 and 84, they proceeded with the process of securing the property, of proceeding with the design, of applying to the I.D.A. for the incentive package, and they applied to the I.D.A. for the incentive package. Their incentive package, and I ask you to pass this down, this is out of the DEIS, shows their 15-year proposed incentive package. Medline, and the same thing, it's in your application, although your application is $100,000 less. What Medline proposed, this was their proposal, not what was requested of them, that they start their pilot payment with $868,594. How'd they arrive at that? They said, we already have 500,000 square feet, so let's not seek a pilot on our first 500,000 square feet. Unlike what others are saying where, well, they're just jumping from one place to another so that they can get another incentive package. So they'd be applying for their incentive package, which is traditional, for the remaining 800 additional thousand square feet. They had 500, the first 500,000 square feet, then they would, the pilot payment would continue to escalate to a point where it'd be $3,171,000, approximately twice the highest current taxpayer in Montgomery. What's interesting about the pilot payments, once you agree to these, this is the payment schedule. It doesn't go by assessment. So if their assessment is less than this would warrant, they're committed to this pilot schedule. Subsequent to this application, the school district has asked Medline. They called me and said, could you arrange a meeting? We'd like to sit down with Medline, share with them some of our challenges in the school district, the Valley Central School District, some of the bonds we've had defeated, some of the votes we've had defeated. Medline went, sat down with them, spent an afternoon with them, got educated. The school district asked, what would you do to assist us? What could you do to assist us? Medline came back with them voluntarily on a charitable basis, committed to a $3 million donation to the school district. No obligation to do that.
Bribery.
I'm sorry, I would ask for quiet and respect.
I'd ask for respect too. We don't seem to be getting any.
Can we get the officer from downstairs, please?
You gonna arrest me?
I'm just saying, you don't have the floor, and it's not a time for public comment, and you're out of line. So
I
I'm
think
gonna
a lot of
ask
stuff is
the
out of line.
officer to come up and help maintain order in this meeting.
So Medline has, it was in the process of entering into an agreement to donate over a 10-year basis $3 million to the school district to be utilized for programming, facilities, and whatever the school board deems appropriate for the use of that property. That's over and above their pilot payment. So they'll be starting from year one at $1.2 million and then climbing from there. In addition to that, Medline, this is prior to any of the misinformation going out. It already met with the town, the ambulance, the fire department, and committed to donating annually on an ongoing basis medical supplies that they need. The ambulance corps needs, the fire department needs, met with the police department and agreed to donate that. That's not something that's obligated to do. That was just something they do, and they said that's something they do in every community which they have a facility. There's been misinformation. In fact, it's been suggested most recently by Senator Skoufis that Medline is a successful company. They make a lot of money. They don't need a pilot payment. They don't need an incentive package. Well, the fact of the matter is that's what we want to attract to New York State and attract to Orange County is successful companies. If we're only going to incentivize unsuccessful companies, then we're taking risk, and the employees are taking risk. We want successful companies. We found that with Amazon in New York City when they were going to locate, and a very successful company, and there was an incentive package to get them to locate there as opposed to some of the other locations, and the end result is, as a result of some dialogue and some information and misinformation and lack of understanding, Amazon said, okay, if you don't want us, we'll go elsewhere, and they went elsewhere. So Medline wanted to stay in Orange County because it wanted to preserve its 350 employees and relationship they have with those employees, and that's the primary objective. Otherwise, they could have easily been in Pennsylvania where the taxes are half, exactly half of, on a facility like this, half as much in taxes. That being said, Medline has completed its DEIS, which was accepted by the planning board. It had its hearing. The hearing was closed. The public comment period has expired. They've gotten all the comments from the public, from the stenographer, from the planning board, from the planning board's professionals, planner, engineer, and other professionals. They're in the process of addressing all of those comments into the FEIS, which they'll be submitting hopefully sometime in latter September, early October, to pursue the process. And they're more than happy to come back here with update this board and provide additional information at any point in time. Thank you.
Thank you, RJ. Any questions from the board on this project? Bob?
Yes.
Robert?
You're gonna have to forgive me, I'm new at this. This is my first meeting. The $3 million you negotiated with the school district, has that been signed and approved by the board? That's a two-part question.
The agreement is not to the board yet. The board is aware of it.
The school.
School board you're talking about?
Yes.
Yes, the school
Yes.
board, yes, they're fully aware of it. The agreement has not been executed yet.
Okay, so that's $300,000 a year over 10 years, average, it's $3 million. What would the taxes be over that period if there was no agreement?
Still be the same. That's irregardless of this.
Okay, that's
Pilot
my
payment,
question.
yeah,
The
that is-
taxes would be $300,000 a year.
No, the taxes as proposed would start at just under $870,000 and escalate to $3 million. The commitment to the school district is a charitable donation Has nothing to do with the pilot, has nothing to do with anything else.
I realize that they're not connected, but I'm comparing them. So, the $300,000 a year over this period is, what's the difference between what they would be paying? I know they're not connected. If there were no agreement, what would they be paying?
Well, if they took the 45B as of right,
You see, I'm new on this, I
yeah,
don't know
if
what.
they took the 45B, didn't come to the I.D.A., took the 45B, which they just go to the assessor and fill out that 2-page form,
Okay.
they'd start out at $1.4 million and escalate over 10 years.
So Robert, let me just, if I could just jump
Sure.
in. When he's referencing, RJ, right?
Yes.
Okay, so when RJ is referencing 45B, that's under the real property tax law of the state. The legislature has already made the determination that certain projects, when coming into the state, automatically get relief from taxes.
Okay.
So 45B says that a facility like this, no matter what this I.D.A. board does, okay, automatically gets, once approved by the town planning board and site plans and all that, automatically gets a 50% tax break in year one, okay? What this I.D.A. and most I.D.A.s in the state can do, and that's over 10 years, and as RJ said, it starts at 50% and then increases 5% for 10 years until it's 100%. That's all taxes, school taxes and town taxes, county taxes. What this I.D.A. has done, similar to what other I.D.A.s have done, as required by the legislature, has adopted a uniform tax exempt policy, which says that in certain cases, if you score enough because of job creation, both during construction and afterward, and what the project consists of, you have two forms of tax exempt, payment in lieu of tax policies. One is the 10-year 45B policy. Another one is a 15-year policy, which gives 5 years at 0% taxes, and then kicks in the 45B as of right. It defers the 45B as of right for 5 years. What I think the presentation is that notwithstanding that policy, if and only if that project were to score the full amount of benefits under your UTEP policy, which you have not done yet because there is no project yet to consider. What the applicant is proposing is that they would not pay 0% for 5 years. They have proposed in their environmental impact statement that they would pay a substantial amount of taxes to both the town and the school, starting in year one at $800,000 and presumably progressing up.
Up to year 5, it's $1.35 million.
Okay? At that point, then the 45B would presumably kick in. In addition to that, if I understood correctly, so that $800,000 in year one, to answer your question, part of that goes to the town and a portion of it goes to the school district. And on top of that, they're offering, or in their discussions, they've committed to pay the school district $300,000 a year for 10 years on top of whatever real estate taxes they're paying. So I don't know if you can quantify, especially since this property has not been fully assessed because there's no building on it yet. I don't know if we can quantify what that actual, to your question, what that actual tax would in theory be, but we also don't know what the tax rates will be in 2 or 3 years if this project is built. And we also don't know what the assessment would be. And I would suggest that we speak to the town assessor to see if we can get any further information on that.
Thank you. I'm married to a mathematician. When I get home, she's gonna want the numbers.
So I hope that was, especially for the 2 new board members, I hope that was a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you, RJ.
I have one more.
Go ahead, Matt.
Mr. Smith, is Medline right now landlocked at the current site? Can they expand there?
They wouldn't, what they've represented is they would not expand again. This is 1.3 million square feet.
No, at
No.
the current site, and way, way on.
Current site.
Oh, yes,
Correct.
absolutely. They're constrained. They have a railroad on one side, a stream on the other side, 84 on the other side. It's a triangular piece of property. They cannot add it's 1 square foot.
Let's speak. RJ, thank you very much for your presentation. I understand all the numbers that you're quoting. I understand that Medline is a good company. However, I was hoping that a representative from Medline would be here, specifically the individual who spoke at the high school. The way he inferred that if Medline did not go here, that children would die. And your grandchildren would die because they would not be able to get the equipment that they needed or the medicines that they needed. My son is a neonatologist. He deals with critical infants. And he says, Dad, I could get anything I want from a dozen different locations other than Medline, who he does get from, who they do supply. He said I could get it within 24 hours or less if I need it. You go back to Medline and tell them that that was a gross misrepresentation of what they did.
The person who spoke was the facility manager, not the vice president. He spoke in the beginning, facility manager.
Right.
I think he was trying to convey their sentiments that as a team of 350 employees and as a company.
I understand what he was trying to convey, and especially with the employees being there. I'm sure the employees are very happy there, and they get paid well, but apparently not well enough to get babysitters. Okay, so. Medline is there to make money, to make a dollar. And when you no longer serve their purpose, employee for 25 or 30 years is gone. Just look at Fishkill, just look at IBM. Same thing happened. But these are not directed towards you, not directed towards the representation that you made for the numbers.
It's doing exactly the opposite of what IBM did.
Yes, I understand, until that point comes.
IBM was a public company looking at bottom dollar shareholder value. This company is not. This company,
yes, but they started out as a family-run business making billions.
Thank you, RJ.
Thanks for your presentation.
Bob, a question on process for this board, and we're here trying to do proper due diligence. It's been inferred in the press that we should evaluate the well-being of a company in how we come up with our decision. Now, in the UTEP you brought up a moment ago, I don't see anything about the profits or the well-being or the need of a company. It's about the community and what's of most benefit to the community.
That can be a factor, the need, but industrial development agencies were created by the legislature to promote economic development projects where the I.D.As have been created. Where there are county I.D.As, it's a county-wide basis. You have a town I.D.A., it's a town-wide basis. You're commissioned to provide certain financial assistance. You cannot provide cash. You cannot provide giveaways. I see that misrepresented all the time throughout the state media. You can provide certain exemptions that are within the statute, some of which frankly, the applicant could receive regardless of your involvement, okay? The mortgage recording tax exemption, only government and not-for-profits would be able to take advantage of that on their own, and I don't believe Medline is even looking for a mortgage recording tax exemption in this case. The sales tax exemption for manufacturing facilities is as of right. And the legislature again has determined that that's in the best interest of creating economic development for a particular location. In your case, job creation. The pilot agreement, I think we've already talked about that pretty extensively. So your role, the I.D.A.'s role, is simply to determine whether or not this facility, based on the scoring, is an appropriate project, and if so, then what would the appropriate financial assistance, not giveaways, you can't give away anything. You can provide financial assistance by way of exemptions to particular projects that you've deemed score properly and create the right number of jobs for the community. That's what you're limited to.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize Maureen Hallahan from the Orange County Partnership.
Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to address you this evening. I'm the president and CEO of the Orange County Partnership. I actually made the original introduction from Medline to the I.D.A. board when they first came to research incentives that might be available for them to bring this monumental project here. And I'm also here to just clear up some misrepresentations and try to give you some factual information that you can bring home to your mathematician. So the factual information that's out there actually is very statistical. It's in dollars and cents, and it can be researched, and that's exactly what we did. So let's just review some facts. James Skoufis quoted that Medline needs to pay their damn taxes. During their 10 years in the town of Wawayanda, Medline paid close to $4 million in taxes over that course of time. Medline desperately wanted to expand in the town of Wawayanda. We worked with them for a long time to try to make that happen. It just, as RJ said, the site was restricted to wetlands and some other issues, and they just couldn't make it happen there. And it would have made much perfect sense, and the Minnesink Valley School District and the town of Wawayanda wanted to keep them there because they were great taxpayers and good corporate citizens. It just didn't work out, and it wasn't in the cards. It's important to understand that Medline's building that is still in Wawayanda, even whether they're in it or not, pays taxes in perpetuity. So when people say, that's another misrepresentation, that they're leaving and that jobs are going to be lost in Minnesink because taxes won't be paid. Not so. Morgan Stanley has invested in buying that building. We're already showing that building to other end users, but whether it's vacant or not, that building is going to continue to pay taxes in the town of Wawayanda. And by the very virtue of I.D.As, and you so graciously just said this, you're created here really to advance job opportunities that create new jobs, that advance the general prosperity and the economic welfare of the people living in the taxing jurisdiction of your designated I.D.A. And I.D.As were created to improve recreational opportunities, these community benefits incentives that Valley Central School District negotiated with Medline. All those things come when these big corporations can move in because they have the wherewithal to support those things. So these companies do promote development, and also you're created to encourage and assist in industrial manufacturing, warehousing, and commercial facilities. I shouldn't be telling you what to do because I know that you know that already. But I.D.A. incentives are available for all companies that qualify, like you said, that pro forma, and apply and work with the I.D.A. board to try to get these incentives, these pilots. If a company creates a certain threshold of jobs and falls within a threshold that you create, they can apply and be awarded I.D.A. incentives. And Medline, according to pro formas, qualifies. That's why they apply to you. So Medline is a stellar corporate leader, and they should never be publicly scrutinized for their success. They're a successful, privately owned business. We should embrace their success and make them one of our own. It's no different than if you've qualified for a discount to buy a garden tractor at Lowe's, and then you go to the cash register and they say, I'm sorry, we're gonna give your coupon to someone that doesn't make as much money as you. If the coupon is available for a company or for you based on a pro forma, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter what your income is, it just matters whether or not this company fits your pro forma. So our senator has publicly insulted successful business. Successful businesses need local labor as they expand. Their employees shop and dine in local establishments. They use local professional services. And Mr. Skoufis gets what he wants, if Mr. Skoufis gets what he wants, which is halting incentive offers to successful companies that qualify for them, he's going to single-handedly stop all business expansion in New York State. And that will also halt work for local contractors, professional service providers, and that trickles down and negatively impacts local small businesses, and it will negatively impact our school districts. Just take a look at what taxes are generated along Neelytown Road. Most of those companies receive pilots at one point, and they now pay large amounts of taxes to the Valley Central School Districts as they're fully taxed as they go over. And by the way, I have all those statistic information for you, and I can send it to you, Jeff, and if you can circulate it, on the companies along Muellertown Road that are paying directly into the school district. So if the vacant land that Medline is interested in right now, remains vacant, it will generate approximately $45,000 annually in combined taxes. That's town, county, and school. When Medline is built, that same vacant site will generate $686,000 the first year with the pilot. So it will take 20 years for that vacant parcel of land to generate what Medline Company will pay in taxes the first year with a pilot. It'll take 678 years for that vacant land to generate the same amount of taxes that Medline will generate during their 15-year pilot. That's 678 years. And Medline doesn't send kids to the school either. So it's not like they're gonna be putting kids into the school districts and they have to expand the school, I'm sorry. It will take 70 years of taxes on the vacant site to generate what Medline will pay in 1 year when they are fully taxed at year 15. 1 year. So the school supports this project, the county supports the project, the hundreds of local employees, of course, at Medline, along with the hundreds of local contractors and service providers, also support the project. Many of the town of Montgomery businesses support this project, but they quietly support it because they fear repercussions. So we just have to take that into consideration. We need to make this happen for the good of the majority, and we have to stand together, weigh the facts, of course, block out the noise, I know that's really hard, and incentivize the project, saving hundreds of jobs and adding hundreds more before another state takes it from us. Thank you so much for your volunteerism, for your leadership, and for your courage. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I could, Ms. Allen reminds me of one other item. You do as a board also, before you can approve or disapprove any financial assistance, have to do a cost-benefit analysis. So that factors in all of the factors that were just raised as well. So it's more than just looking at jobs, it's looking at the benefits to the community and what the cost-benefit is. And that's a relatively new part of the I.D.A. legislation. It's not part of the original statute, but I think within the last 10, 15 years, it's become a requirement.
And at the last meeting, we engaged a company to assist us with that process.
Correct.
Thank you, Maureen. Bob, we had a solar preliminary application. Would you care to comment to the board on that?
Yes, I received an application, a preliminary application from a company that they hope to submit a full application within the next week or two. All I've done is tried to go through this, and they have a few items that they failed to properly identify. And what we do as our role as part of our normal course is we encourage applicants to submit a preliminary application to us for us to review and highlight any issues that may be omitted. And I expect that they'll submit this within the next week or two.
Thank you. Our next item of business is the approval or consideration of the July 8th I.D.A. meeting minutes. And the board, I believe, has a copy of those. Comments, corrections?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
In those minutes, it is mentioned that the board authorized our firm, Hodge & Russ, to correct some items in the ABO filing that were done by the former executive director. And I'm happy to report that we were able to accomplish all of that, so that this board is now fully up to date with all the ABO filings. I'd like to publicly commend the accounting firm, whose name I can't pronounce, but they were extraordinarily helpful in providing us with information. as well as Pam Weisberg, paralegal in my office, who spent some time with the I.D.A website. It's not user-friendly, it's not intuitive, it takes some time to migrate around. But you are up to date, and there is one company that failed to provide you with employee information, and we did send out a demand letter asking for the employment information and advised them if they failed to respond within 10 days that the board could seek recapture of the benefits. There's really no reason why they're not providing us with that information.
And we haven't heard at this point.
Silencio. Nothing, but hopefully soon. Hopefully by the end of the week.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept those July 8th meeting minutes?
I'll motion.
By Steve, second by Matt. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carried, and I would like to thank you, Sue, for the detail in those minutes. They get quite lengthy, and they were nicely done. Our executive session items, we need to discuss the RFPs for the labor compliance, the salary, and related aspects of an RFP for executive director.
So I would ask that the process, again, to remind the board, you go into executive session, then go into executive session. If you want me present, I'm happy to be present, or anyone else. And then when you come out, you have to vote out of executive session, in executive session. And when you come out to the public meeting, you have to report out any action taken, and then we can adjourn the meeting if there's no other business.
And maybe, Bob, review the appropriate discussion that dictates executive session.
So under the open meetings law, all matters before this board have to be in a public session with certain exceptions. Certainly discussing the selection of applicants for responding to an RFP, considering that that's a potential contract with the agency or its applicants, that's entirely permissible under the open meetings law to go into executive session. Any personnel decisions, such as the requirements of an executive director and the potential salary of an executive director, that's entirely appropriate for an executive session. Any other salary employee information that you may want to discuss is certainly also the subject matter of an executive session. And then finally, any potential litigation matters that could be brought or are threatened to be brought before the I.D.A. Those are certainly items that can be the subject of an executive session.
Thank you, Bob.
And I think, sorry, there's one more. Any real estate matters. You were
Okay.
contemplating the purchase of real estate or the sale of real estate. That would also be the subject of an executive session.
So I'm gonna ask for a motion for us to move into executive session. I would suggest the board meet in the back conference room as a courtesy to the public who wants to stay here. And motion by Matt, second to that motion, Steve. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
I'd like
And
to make also a motion to have council with us.
Yes.
sounds good. Does that need to be by motion? Yeah, we'll invite you in, Bob. Just as a courtesy to the public, this will probably take 15 to 30 minutes. We will come back out and make appropriate announcements, come out of executive session and close the meeting. So thank you all for being here. You're welcome to stay, and the board will go into executive session at this time.
Will you entertain any public comment since the other two speakers weren't on the agenda, or no, at the end?
Actually, my understanding is that they were on the agenda, because the board asked them to attend, to give a
Not on this
presentation.
one? Not on the one you handed out?
Yes, they are. So, sure they were.
Discussion of pending applications?
Consideration, discussion on pending applications. They were invited to come here by the chair.
Everybody could get one of these, it's about the video. Planning board starts when?
I would encourage everyone to submit public questions, public comments.
Yeah. Give it a try.
This is not helpful. You have legitimate concerns. So far, they're
Yeah, but everybody's safe and vote.
They need to. Senators are around, lots of other people around. They're very smart. Senators are very smart. They need to get your understanding correct. Yeah. Website. You have email address. Right now, one question.
Oh, I'm just gonna ask Mark here today.
What they have.
Well, yes, that's, yeah. I'm sure it'll be fun. Okay, so, to start here,
I know, but they should be
what did you think of Wade?
Have the senator come here.
I know.
My legislator, got to get me through the lines, I love it.
It's 5 o'clock.
Like that skirt, you gonna get one?
What, who?
You get one of those skirts? I will. Stir it up. All right, guys. Hey, guys. Anybody that's left that's interested? Hi, how are you? So just so you know, there is zero information sharing between the boards. So anything that you submitted as far as questions for the DEIS and all that goes to the planning board, any comments that you've issued to the town board are not being shared with the I.D.A. So they only have 2 comments and 1 question on the entire project. So they aren't hearing anybody's concerns. So you need to send your questions that you questioned on the DEIS, your questions to the town board, your questions to the planning board, all need to be sent to the I.D.A. specifically. Otherwise, they're not entertaining at all. They're not sharing any information. No, directly to the chair of this I.D.A. Yes.
Are the other members listed on the town website?
I'm not sure. I'm not an employee. I'm just repeating what I was just told.
Also, their tax returns should be available for public,
They are available. So they have to be. So it's required. That Orange County Card is tax returns. Because they never bother to file their tax returns.
Do you think Medline is thorough?
I think
For the past 15 years.
this idea is not
So much to be clear. So everybody needs to read that correctly.
No, this particular idea.
What I say is looking at it, I'm told, I don't know if it stands for
You know, when he watched, when the guy. Yes, yes, I did, I got it. And the guy, and he looked at me when he started to back at this guy, and he made me back down. They offer to donate.
Would be a successful outcome.
And only stay there a little bit, yeah, I would post it and then you can post it, they're not, they're not gonna come back? No, they'll come, they have to come back. Unless they take action, and they hire somebody or something, I mean, that's basically. We're talking about personnel.
I don't know if it gets saved somewhere or if it just stays in the community. And either way.
I don't know.
The world is changing. Yes. So the best outcome, if Medline feels, if they can, they can stay.
Are you? Yes. When he lays it out. Right.
Anything else you want to add? Great, thank you. Oh, that's perfect, yes. I mean, not really specifically, I'm just asking generally, why are you here, what are you doing, why is it important?
Well, they're telling us, why are we here? How our government is governing us to pay attention to what
If you don't want to, you don't have to.
we're background noise.
I know it looks very scary, but it's not that bad.
Hey, if I could do it, you do it.
It's not a problem, and it's only gonna be like a 10-second. So to start when I get your first semester, and you live in the town?
Oh, really?
Use it this way, or you can use it that way.
Yeah, that's the plan, so that's what we're.
Somebody voted on. We're still streaming, I'm not saying you're.
I'm still streaming, like, give me some information.
I don't They like to use. I don't know.